Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to the lecture schedule. This is the 8th lecture. This is lecture number 8 for zoology, and we are discussing animal kingdom. Okay, so at the end of lecture number 7, we started this discussion on a reproductive system or the reproduction. We saw that organisms differ in their mode of reproduction. The conclusion which we draw were that there are some organisms which perform asexual reproduction. Okay, so we are focusing on animals here. So some animals will perform asexual reproduction, which is uniparental. That means asexual reproduction involves the participation of only one parent. We have discussed this in lecture number 7. So this is a uniparental case. Only one parent is involved. And here we have to remember that asexual reproduction, as far as animals are concerned, in case of animals, it is rare, but it is seen. So the case is rare. Animals predominantly show sexual mode of reproduction. That's very important to remember. So animals show the second type of reproduction, that is, they show sexual reproduction. This is very common in animals, although some of the animals show asexual reproduction also, which I've taught you in lecture number 7, that there are some animals like hydra is there, amoebas, unicellular organisms are there. They can opt for budding like processes, fission like processes, and spore formation like processes. But you will see majority of the animals will show sexual reproduction. So this is very common mode of reproduction in animals. Okay, now as far as sexual mode of reproduction is concerned, the students, this is a reproduction which is biparental. That means here we will be talking about a male parent and a female parent. So here we'll be talking about the male parent and the female parent. That's the case with sexual mode of reproduction. And what we'll see here is the participation of the gametes. This is the symbol for the male. You show a circle with an arrow. This is the symbol for a male, and a circle with this plus symbol shows female. This is the representation. Now, what else we see in sexual mode of reproduction is the participation of the gamete. So we'll see that the male will produce the male gamete, which is the sperm, and female will produce the female gamete, which is the ovum. Okay, so what are these structures which are seen in sexual reproduction? They are the gametes. So this gamete formation is taking place in sex organs. Okay, so you will see involvement of sex organs in sexual reproduction, whereby we are talking about testes in male. Here we see testes in male, where the sperm formation is taking place, and we see ovaries in females. Let me write down it properly. So as far as females are concerned, the sex organ is ovary. So you saw that sex organs are involved, like testes is involved in males and ovaries involved in females, where gametes are produced. The sperm is produced and the ovum is produced. Now, you'll see that what has to happen is the fusion of sperm and ovum. That means the two gametes will fuse, and that will result in the formation of the zygote. What is this fusion of gametes called? This fusion of gametes is called, yes, absolutely, you're correct, it's called fertilization. It's called fertilization. Okay, now you see animals, they differ. Some of the animals perform internal fertilization. So based on fertilization, now you have animals of how many types? 2 types. See, you have some of the animals which perform internal fertilization. Internal fertilization. Now, what happens in internal fertilization is that this process, the process of fusion, the zygote formation, it takes place inside the body of an organism. That case you call internal fertilization. So you will see in internal fertilization taking place in, you'll see this taking place in, let me give you the examples. You'll see internal fertilization happening in reptiles, birds, which we call aves also, and mammals. So here what is going to happen, that the male organism is going to release its sperms into the reproductive system of the female. And within the reproductive system of the female, this fertilization is going to take place. You'll call that fertilization internal fertilization. Now you have some of the animals which perform what? Which perform external fertilization. External fertilization. So what is the case here? Very simple. Here, what is going to happen is that the sperm and the ova, that means the male is going to release the sperm outside. The female is going to lay the ova or the egg outside. Both of the gametes are going to fertilize. They are going to fuse with each other in water. So you will see this happening in what? You will see this happening in aquatic environment. So this can happen in water bodies. So what do you see happening in aquatic organisms, or what do you see happening in an aquatic environment? That the male will come and will drop its sperm, female will come and will drop her egg, and the fertilization of egg and sperm will take place in the medium. That means the water body. So who are the animals who perform this external fertilization? You learn these things in your very basic classes. So you know about the animals, like we have frogs, we have starfishes. So let me write down over here. Frogs, you know, the male frog and the female frog, during that rainy season, these frogs come near the water body and they start releasing their gametes into the water body, and fertilization takes place in water. That fertilization is called external fertilization, which is going to take place outside the reproductive system of the female. So you'll see this in frogs, and you will see the same happening in starfishes also. So now here you came across two types of animals rather. Some performing internal fertilization, some preferring external fertilization. That's also very important. And now I will make you understand about different terms. Come back to this process of sexual reproduction. So you saw what are involved in sexual reproduction. If I'll come this way, what are involved in sexual reproduction were sex organs. Okay. So you saw what is involved in sexual reproduction or sex organs. Correct? Now you see that there'll be some animals in which you'll be able to differentiate between male animal and female animal. Okay, such a type of case where there is a clear distinction, where there is a clear difference between a male and a female, that thing is called sexual dimorphism. What is that thing called? That thing is called sexual dimorphism. That means you're going to have a separate male and a separate female. Okay, so such organisms in which you will see there is a separate male and there is a separate female, those animals are called dioecious animals. So what is the case with dioecious animals? So some of the animals are going to be dioecious animals. That means they are going to exhibit, these animals will show what? They are going to have separate male and female individuals. So there will be a clear difference. There will be a clear morphological difference between the male individual and the female individual in these cases. That is the case for the humans. You are clearly able to identify as per the body appearance, as per the physiological appearance, who is the male and who is the female. Such animals are called dioecious animals. Okay, and this property where you see there is separate male and female individual, this property is called, what do we call this property? This property is called sexual dimorphism. What is this property called? This is called sexual dimorphism. That means a clear-cut male, a clear-cut female. So there is a separate male, separate female. They have this male and a female animal or organism has what? They have clear, what is the term I can use? They have clear morphological. In appearance, they are different. So they have clear morphological differences. Clear to you people? So you call them dioecious animals, or my dear students, the same animals are called unisexual because you have male sex separate, female sex separate. So you can also call them, they're also called, so terminologies vary. These animals are also called unisexual animals. What are these animals called? They're called unisexual animals. So there's just one sex, one animal, one sex. Okay. So who are the organisms who show this sexual dimorphism? You can think about the lions. You have a loin, you have a loinness. Okay, you have a peacock, you have a hen. You have a male human, you have a female human. Okay, so that is the case. So the examples here are the humans. Okay, the lion, the peacocks and the peahens. So let me write down the peacock. Even in English, we use the male and female, masculine and a feminine form for them. We call it a male and a female. For human, we use male and a female. For lion, we use lion or a lioness. For peacock, we use peacock or peahen. That means they show sexual dimorphism, a separate male and a separate female. But contrary to this, you will see some animals which will be having both. There will be a single organism, and the single organism will have both male as well as female sex organs. What do we call that? Those animals. Those animals, my students, they are called hermaphrodite. They're called hermaphrodite animals. Pay attention. What are they called? Hermaphrodite animals. Very, very important. Hermaphrodite animals. Or you can call them monoecious, because both of the sexes are present in one individual. So they are monoecious animals. Or you can call them, so these were unisexual. They will be called, yes, absolutely. They'll be called bisexual animals. Clear? So now what is the case with these animals? If I use this terminology, if I'm saying that an animal is hermaphrodite, that an animal is monoecious, that an animal is bisexual, what I mean by that? I mean to say that there will be a single organism. Okay, there'll be a single organism, and a single organism will have, so a single organism with male and female sex organs. So a same individual will have the male sex organ as well as the female sex organ. So you'll call these animals, what do you call these animals? Hermaphrodite animals. Hermaphrodite animals. Say for example, if you talk about earthworm, if you talk about tapeworm, if you talk about leeches, let me give you the example. Let me write down the example here. If you talk about whom? If you talk about earthworm, if you talk about leeches, if you talk about the tapeworm, what do you see? You see that these animals are hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means that these animals have just a single organism with both the sex organs. Okay, now let us analyze. So you saw that animals could be, they could be dioecious as far as sexual reproduction is concerned. Those which will perform the sexual mode of reproduction, which is a very common mode of reproduction, you analyze that some are going to go with internal fertilization, some are going to perform external fertilization. One point was this to be noted. Another point which you can note down over here is that some of the animals will be dioecious. Some of the animals will show sexual dimorphism, whereas some of the animals will be monoecious. They will be bisexual, what we call hermaphrodite. Same animals are called hermaphrodite animals because you have a single animal, single organism with both male and female sex organs. The example is tapeworm, the example is earthworm, the example is leech. Now, you will see two more variations with hermaphrodite animals. Let me take a new page. So if we talk about whom? If we talk about okay, let me read it properly. If you talk about hermaphrodite, oh, if you talk about these hermaphrodite animals, now you know who are hermaphrodite animals. They're going to have both. There'll be a single organism with both. So there'll be earthworm. Earthworm has both testes as well as ovaries, both male as well as female sex organ. So if this is the condition, you will call the organism hermaphrodite, or you can use the word bisexual. Now you will see that these animals further have two types. See, that's twisted. These animals further have how many types? So you can divide these animals. Let me write down this. Let me put this in a box, and let me write down that these animals are further divided into two types. Now the question is on which basis? So I'll divide them into two types. So you have one set of animals who show protandry. Pay attention. One set of animals who show protandry. Another set of animals who show protogyny. Now, what is the issue here? Very simple to understand. So you'll have some animals in which you'll see they are hermaphrodite. That means in this case, animal is hermaphrodite. In this case, animal is hermaphrodite. But here in protandry, you'll see here that the animal will develop its testes first. That means in this case, although both testes and ovaries are present, but testes, that means the male sex organ, that matures first. You can think what will be the consequence. So say for example, there is an animal. Say for example, you have this earthworm, say for example. So say for example, this is the region where testes are going to develop, and this is the region where ovary is going to develop. For example, for the sake of simplicity, I'm trying to make you understand. So this is the testes and this is the ovary. Okay, the individual is hermaphrodite. But now I'm saying that what you'll see that in this organism, which organ will develop first? Say ovary is not developed yet, but the testes, the male sex organs are developed. So if the testes mature first, you call it protandry. What do you call it? Protandry. Now obviously testes is only mature, so it requires another individual. So what is required? Another individual is required for reproduction. So although this organism will have testes as well as ovaries, but it will perform reproduction with some other individual because its own ovary is not fully developed yet. That means if it would have both testes and ovaries developed, then it would have preferred what? It would prefer self-fertilization. Means the sperm from this region will fertilize the ovum from the same organism. That's what is called self-fertilization. But since we said that the ovary is not developed yet, so obviously this organism has to perform reproduction, and for that purpose it has to come closer to another individual whose ovary will be developed. Okay, now what will happen here now? Because of this protandry, what will happen is cross fertilization. That is the reason. So protandry, you are always asked this question. Favors Protandry favors what? Protandry favors cross fertilization because organism has only testes developed. There is no possibility for self fertilization. So as per this, there is no chance of self fertilization. I hope this is clear. So I said, what is protandry? It is the case where the animal itself is hermaphrodite, means the same animal will have testes and ovaries, but the testes will mature first. If the testes will mature first, you will call this process protandry. Okay, and since the testes are only developed, obviously for reproduction, for fertilization, the individual, the animal has to perform fertilization with another animal whose ovary will be developed. So that type of fertilization which happens between two different individuals. So here, two animals are required. So if this is the case, that's is called cross fertilization, and your protandry is facilitating, it is favoring cross fertilization. It's leaving no chance for self fertilization. Okay, now if we talk about protogyny, it's the reverse. In case of protogyny, you will see. Now let me first of all tell you who are the animals who are protandrous, who show protandry. Let me give you the example. Earthworms. Earthworms, although they are hermaphrodite, but they are protandrous. That means in them testes will mature first. So for reproduction, the organism has to perform which fertilization? Cross fertilization. Okay, even leech is also what? Protandrous. Now as far as protogyny is concerned, what will happen here? Reverse. Ovaries mature first. Now see, if the ovary will mature first, testes are not developed yet, Again, the organism will prefer, it will facilitate what? Again, it will facilitate cross fertilization. Otherwise, you can think if the animal is hermaphrodite, animal is having both male and female sex organ, animal will go for self-fertilization. Those are also the cases where the animal will perform self-fertilization. You will see self-fertilization happening in tapeworms. Tapeworms perform self-fertilization. But if we look at these animals, they earthworm and leech, they go for cross-fertilization despite of the fact that they are hermaphrodite. But why do they go for cross-fertilization? The reason is they are protandrous. And why do some, like the example for this case are, let me give you the example first of all. So you hope you understood protogyny is the case where ovaries will mature first and testes are not developed yet. Obviously, the organism has to prefer for cross-fertilization. Now, animal which performs this is sea skirt. Sea skirt, what you call Herdmania. Herdmania. This is an animal which performs, it is an aquatic organism, it performs cross-fertilization, but it is hermaphrodite. But then why it performs cross-fertilization? Why not self-fertilization? The reason is the animal is showing protogyny. Its ovaries mature first. So obviously it will go for cross-fertilization. And another example is Amphioxus. Sea skirt, Herdmania and Amphioxus are protogynous animals. Okay, in them the ovaries mature first. So you came across different terms as far as reproduction was concerned. Now let me give you another idea. You have animals further of different types. If we consider reproduction, we can further understand reproduction by taking this aspect that there will be some animals which lay eggs. So some of the animals which lay eggs, we call them egg laying animals, isn't it? Some animals lay eggs, we call them egg laying animals. Like say for example you have frogs. Okay, you have frogs, you have reptiles, you have birds. So you have reptiles and you have birds. What do they do? They, after fertilization is done, once fertilization is done, what do? They lay eggs. They lay eggs. And remember one more, there are some mammals. Mammals don't lay eggs, but there are some mammals. Oh, those mammals are called, let me write down some mammals. Some mammals. Who are those mammals? They are prototheria. Prototheria. There are some mammals. All of these mammals lay eggs. Okay, so some, after fertilization, once fertilization is done, they don't give birth to the young ones. What do? They lay eggs, and then they have to hatch their eggs and the new individual will come out of the egg. These animals which lay eggs and then the development of the organism takes place outside the body, these animals are called oviparous animals. So you have some other types of animals. What do you call these animals? Oviparous animals. So who are oviparous animals? Egg laying animals which lay eggs. That means the formation of the new individual that takes place outside the body of the female. See, if you look at birds, so fertilization is internal. Fertilization is internal. If you look at reptiles, fertilization is internal. But what is going to happen is that the organism is going to lay the egg. Here we also saw frog will also frog. In fact, frog is going to lay, male frog is going to lay the sperm and female frog is going to lay the egg into the water, and even the fertilization has to take place outside the body. But what is the conclusion here is that the birds and the reptiles, focusing these two more, they lay eggs, and then the development of the new individual, that means the development of the fetus and the new young one, that is going to take place absolutely outside the body of the female. Such animals are called oviparous animals. Okay, now you have some animals in which you will see that the development and fertilization is internal. That means, let me write down over here, that means in them you will see they don't lay eggs. You will see that they will give birth to young ones. So they give birth to young ones, but the point to be noted here is that in them, what is going to happen? The process of fertilization and the development of young one, the development of young ones is going to happen. Both of these processes are internal. Okay, complete development and complete fertilization initially and complete development of the young one is going to take place internally, inside the body of the female. Okay, and another point you have to remember is that the nourishment which this newly forming young one needs during the development, nourishment is provided. Nourishment of this young one is done, the nourishment is obtained via mother through a specialized mass that's called placenta. Through placenta. So this is going to be a tissue which is going to act as a sort of connection between the mother's body. See, for example, this is the womb, this is the uterus of the mother. Okay, and this is the fetus, this is the fetus. Say, for example, this is the fetus, this is the young one which is getting developed between the mother. So this is the uterus, say, for example. Okay, uterus, that means this is the part of the womb, this is the part of the female body. Now there, between the two, there is going to be this connection, which is partly made up of the mother's tissue and partly it is made up of the fetal tissue. This is what we call placenta. So the fetus will get its nourishment from the mother through this placenta. So if this is the case, if fertilization, number one thing, fertilization must be internal. Okay, yes, in this case, fertilization is internal. Say for example, if we lengthen this diagram, if we try to make it more informative, say for example, this is the uterus part. Okay, and then we know, putting humans into consideration, we know there will be this cervix part and then there will be this vagina part. Okay, if we look at our reproductive system, this we have understood this in our lower classes. We're not talking about ovaries and all. We know that what is going to happen, that the sperms are going to be released here. Okay, this is the sperm, and egg is going to be here. Let me show you that part also. So this is the fallopian tube, to give you an idea, and these are the fimbriae, and this is the ovary of the female. So what is this? Ovary. And from here, what is going to come is the ovum. Okay, so this is the ovum which has come from the ovary. Now these are the sperms. Where from the sperms will come? They will come from intercourse, that the male and the female, male will release its sperms into the female reproductive system, and then these sperms will travel up and then finally they will reach over here. So this is the sperm, and what will happen now is the process of fertilization. Where is this fertilization taking place? Absolutely correct. We saw that this fertilization has taken place inside the female reproductive system. Okay, and the development of the organism is also taking place inside the female reproductive system. So these animals are called, viviparous animals. The best example is that of the humans. We are viviparous animals. Now let us sum up this oviparous concept and viviparous concept again and have a look at the third type of animals, which we called OvoViviparous animals. On the basis of development, we saw some of the animals are oviparous. This was the point. Oviparous animals, oviparous animals are those animals which are going to lay egg. They are egg laying animals. So how is the development taking place in these organisms is that they are going to lay the egg, and then the egg is going to be hatched outside the body of the organism and the young one will come into the world. Okay, in this case we saw that the frogs, various reptiles and birds, let me write down over here, frogs, reptiles, birds and mammals also. Mammals. The mammal which is included in oviparous category are prototherian. Prototheria. This is an egg-laying mammal. So some of the animals fall in this category. Okay, you have oviparous animals. Second type of animals were viviparous animals. This was the category we were understanding in previous lecture. Oviparous animals. Now, what is the condition with viviparous animals is that you will see in this case, individual is not going to lay any egg. You know, actually here what will happen is a young one is born, as is the case with humans. How do we develop? We are born in a young one form. We are born in an infant form. So our development, complete development takes place inside the body of our mother. So if young one is born, then that case is called viviparous case. Animal is said to be viviparous. Now what is happening over here is we can understand that what is happening in this case is that the fertilization, the process of the fusion of the gametes, male and female gamete, fertilization, as well as the development of the new individual is, first of all, internal. This is to be noted over here. In this case, viviparous case, that means the gametes are fertilizing inside the body of the female. Development of the fetus, that means development of the new individual, is taking place inside the body of the female. And another point which is to be noted here is that the nourishment which this developing individual needs, nourishment is obtained, the newly formed individual, once the individual is in the body of the female, once the individual is in the body of the mother, nourishment is obtained via mother. So this developing fetus obtains everything, whether it's oxygen, whether it's nutrients, whether the wastes are to be removed, everything is done via mother, because both the young one, the fetus, and the mother are in connection, and that connection is by means of placenta. By means of placenta. So placenta is going to be the connection between the young one which is getting developed inside the body and the mother. Okay, so say for example, this I have made you understand in previous lecture also. Say for example, this is the uterus where the young one is getting developed. So this is the uterus, and that means this is the mother's uterine wall. Okay, so for simplicity purpose. Now what is going to happen is, say for example, this is the fetus which is getting developed inside the body. Now, between this fetus and the mother, there's going to be a connection, which I'll show with black color. Say, for example, this is the connection. This tissue, this mass over here is representing placenta. Okay, so placenta is that particular tissue which is partly made up of the mother, partly it is contributed by the mother, partly it is made by the fetal tissue. So this is the connection through which there is what? There is exchange of wastes between fetus and the mother blood taking place. There is, exchange of gases taking place. So all sort of nourishment is provided by means of this placenta in case of viviparous animals. Even fertilization is internal. That means the gametic fertilization is going to take place inside the body of the female. Development is going to take place inside the body of the female. That means the fetus, the child, the proper term is basically the fetus over here. This young one is going to be developed inside the body of the mother. And the nourishment which this fetus requires, that nourishment will be provided by the mother through this particular tissue, which is called placenta. Okay. Now, the third category of animals are, there is another category, third category of animals. Third category of animals are called OvoViviparous animals. Now, what is the condition with these animals? Ovoviviparous. You can guess, so they are having this characteristic as well as this characteristic. Now, what is the fun with these animals? What is the quality of these animals is very simple. In them, fertilization, let us notice first of all what is going to happen. Fertilization is internal. That means the fusion of the sperm and the ovum is going to take place inside the body. Okay, so fertilization is internal, 1 point. Development is also going to be internal. Development is also internal. That means this development of the new individual is going to take place inside the body. But the difference is that there is no placenta involved. No placenta formation. That's the difference. So you can think like this. It is a situation in which egg is basically hatched inside the body of the mother. So what is going to happen basically is that the nourishment is not going to be provided by the placenta, because there is no placenta. That's the difference. Placenta is not involved. So it is a kind of egg which is basically hatched, not outside. That was being done by oviparous animals. But here in ovoviviparous, egg is hatched inside. So in development and fertilization both inside, but there is no placenta formation. So it seems that the young one is born, but this is not a true viviparous condition, because in this case, placenta is not involved. So you don't have to confuse these animals with viviparous animals. They are ovoviviparous. Now, who are these animals? If we get some examples that will clarify the concept, you'll see sharks giving birth to young ones. You'll see shark giving birth to young ones. It seems that it is viviparous, but it's not viviparous. It is ovoviviparous. Means it's a condition where there is no placenta involved. It's the egg which is hatched inside the body of the female. Okay, and same is the case with rattlesnakes. They are also ovoviviparous. So you have animals of diversity. My dear students, this was all I had for you people in this video lecture. In the next lecture, we will be talking about some more information. We'll be talking about the development of organisms. In some cases, we'll see direct, and in other cases, we'll see indirect development taking place. We will have an idea about what metamorphosis is and what are the two types of metamorphosis cases. I'll be giving you that information also. Stay tuned. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Allah Hafiz.